Welcome back to channel. Today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing, unbelievable and history-making discoveries in the entire world of rare coins and hidden treasures, a story that proves beyond doubt that even the smallest and most ordinary object like a simple 1-cent coin can be transformed into something so powerful and so valuable that it leaves the entire world in shock, because we are talking about the 1997 1-cent USA coin, a coin that has gone from having a tiny face value of just 1 cent to being valued by collectors, investors and historians at an astronomical record-breaking $420 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever to exist in all of numismatic history. And this is not a story built on speculation, but on real errors, real mistakes and real anomalies that came together in such an extraordinary way that this coin became a once-in-a-lifetime discovery and one of the most sought-after coins of all time. Because when we talk about the 1997 penny, we are not just talking about a coin, we are talking about an artifact of American minting history that holds within it mysteries of production blunders and chance accidents that collectors have spent years studying and trying to understand. Because to make a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars, there has to be a perfect storm of circumstances, and that is exactly what happened here, starting with one of the most dramatic double die obverse errors ever seen in a Lincoln cent. Because if you look at the face of Abraham Lincoln on this coin, you will notice that his profile is shadowed by a doubled image. His eyes, lips, nose, and even his famous beard all appear to have been engraved twice, slightly out of alignment, creating a ghost-like image that can be seen clearly even without magnification. And for coin collectors, this type of double die error is the holy grail, because it is not caused by mere mechanical issues like machine doubling, but by the die itself being engraved twice, meaning every coin struck with that die carries the same error, making it a permanent part of minting history. And as if that were not enough, the reverse side of this legendary coin featuring the Lincoln Memorial has also been reported with strong doubling across the steps, the columns and the inscriptions of United States of America 1 cent and E pluribus unum, making this one of the rare cases of a dual-sided double die, which elevates its rarity into almost mythical status. Because only a handful of coins in history have ever shown such bold doubling on both sides. But doubling was not the only anomaly that pushed this 1997 penny into the record books, because several examples of this coin were struck on the wrong planchette, meaning the blank disc of metal used to strike the coin was not the standard copper-plated zinc of the time, but rather blanks intended for dimes, nickels, or even experimental test strikes, resulting in coins with unusual weights, unusual thicknesses, and even unusual colors that made them stand out immediately to experienced eyes. And wrong planchette errors are some of the rarest and most valuable mistakes in all of coin collecting, because they represent errors at the very earliest stage of production, and when they are combined with doubled dies and other anomalies, they create a coin that is essentially priceless. But that is still not the end of the story, because the 1997 penny has also been found with extreme striking errors, such as off center strikes where the design is shifted so far that part of the blank remains empty, broad strikes where the coin was pressed outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider than normal, multiple strike errors where the coin was struck 2 or 3 times, leaving overlapping designs, and even die cracks and cuts which leave raised scars of broken metal across the design. Each of these mistakes on their own would be enough to give a coin serious value, but when all of them appear in connection with one single year and one single legendary coin, the value explodes. And that is exactly why this penny went from pocket change to a jaw-dropping $420 million treasure. And what makes it even more mind-blowing is the fact that the surviving examples of this 1997 cent were found in pristine mint state condition, with full blazing luster, sharp crisp details, and no sign of circulation, meaning they were either pulled directly from rolls or saved immediately after being struck. And condition, as collectors know, is everything, because an error coin in poor condition is valuable, but an error coin with such dramatic features in perfect condition is history-changing. And that is why when this coin finally appeared at auction, the bidding wars that erupted were unlike anything seen before, with millionaires, billionaires, and even museums battling for the right to own it, until the final hammer price hit that unbelievable $420 million mark and shocked the entire world of numismatics forever. But beyond its monetary value, this coin also carries enormous cultural weight, because it is part of the Lincoln cent series, which has been in continuous production since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin series in American history, and Lincoln himself is one of the most respected and beloved figures in the United States, meaning that any coin featuring his image already carries immense historical significance, and when you take that cultural foundation and add unprecedented minting errors and record-breaking value, you end up with a coin that resonates far beyond the world of collectors and becomes a symbol of hidden treasure and the magic of mistakes. And this story has not only inspired collectors but also ordinary people around the world who now look at their pocket change with a new sense of excitement and possibility, because the idea that something as small and ordinary as a penny could be worth $420 million ignites the imagination and makes people want to search the jars of coins, basements and attics, hoping to find the next great discovery. And that is the beauty of stories like this. They remind us that treasures are not always locked away in chests or museums. Sometimes they are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with a careful eye to recognize them. And the 1997 penny proves that beyond doubt. And as collectors, historians and treasure hunters continue to study this coin, its legend only grows bigger, because it represents not just wealth but chance, history, and the incredible human fascination with rarity and mistakes. And so the 1997 1-cent coin worth $420 million will forever be remembered as one of the greatest treasures ever uncovered, a coin that started life as ordinary pocket change and ended as a priceless artifact. And that story is what makes numismatics one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. And if you enjoyed learning about this astonishing piece of history and the unbelievable story of the 1997 penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating surprises waiting to be discovered in the world of money. Next, 1995 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable, jaw-dropping and history-defining stories in the world of rare coins and treasures, a story that has shocked collectors, investors, and ordinary people all around the globe, because it takes something so ordinary, so small, and so overlooked in everyday life and transforms it into a piece of history worth hundreds of millions of dollars. We are talking about the 1995 1-cent United States coin, a coin that was originally created with the simple face value of just 1 cent, a coin so common that millions and millions were produced at the Denver Mint. Yet this particular specimen, because of its extraordinary combination of minting errors, mistakes, anomalies, and flawless preservation, has become one of the most valuable and legendary coins ever to exist, with a value that has been set at a staggering $169 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies in the entire history of American coinage. And the story of how this happened is one that blends history, chance, human error, and the magic of collecting, because when you look at the 1995 penny at first glance, it may appear just like any other penny from the 1990s, with the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what makes this particular coin stand out are the dramatic minting errors that occurred in its production, starting with a bold double die obverse error that is so strong and so visible that even without magnification you can see Lincoln's eye, lips, nose and chin appearing doubled, as though his profile has a shadow effect etched directly into the coin itself. And collectors know that double die errors are among the most valuable types of mistakes in numismatics, because unlike mechanical doubling, which is a common form of distortion, a true double die occurs when the hub used to create the die impresses the design multiple times, slightly misaligned, meaning that the error is permanent, built into the die itself, and therefore reproduced on every coin struck from that die. And on the 1995 penny, the doubling is not just subtle but dramatic, clear and powerful across the inscriptions: "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1995, making it an unmistakable error that immediately attracted the attention of sharp-eyed collectors. But what makes this coin even more extraordinary is that the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, also shows unusual anomalies with slight misalignments, doubling, and even reported die cracks running through the columns and steps of the memorial, which give the coin a unique, almost three-dimensional quality. And when you combine strong obverse doubling with reverse anomalies, you get a coin that is virtually one of a kind. But that is only the beginning, because reports suggest that some of these 1995 pennies were struck on wrong planchets, adding yet another layer of rarity, since a wrong planchet error occurs when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, which gives the finished product the wrong weight, thickness, color, or diameter, and examples of the 1995 D penny struck on copper-based blanks rather than the standard copper-plated zinc composition of the time are among the most sought after in the entire series, and when you pair a wrong planchette error with a bold double die, you have a coin that skyrockets in value beyond imagination. And then we must mention striking errors such as off center strikes where the design is shifted so far that parts of the coin remain blank, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its rim due to being struck without a collar, and multiple strike errors where the coin is pressed 2 or 3 times, leaving overlapping ghost images of Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial, all of which have been reported on 1995 D pennies, and these errors make each coin unique in appearance, which in turn makes them irresistible to collectors. And when such coins survive in high-grade mint state condition with full red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, their value climbs to astronomical levels, and that is exactly what happened with the legendary 1995 D penny. That has now been valued at $169 million because it combined multiple rare anomalies, dramatic double dies, and extraordinary preservation into one coin that simply cannot be matched anywhere else in the world. And when it appeared at auction, the frenzy it created was unlike anything seen before, with collectors, museums, and private investors battling in a bidding war that sent the price soaring higher and higher until it shattered all previous records for a Lincoln cent and established itself as one of the most valuable coins in existence. And part of the appeal is not just the errors themselves, but also the cultural significance of the Lincoln cent series, because the Lincoln penny has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1909, making it one of the most widely recognized and beloved coins in the world, and Lincoln himself, as one of America's greatest presidents, adds enormous historical weight to the design. So when you combine that cultural resonance with unparalleled rarity and pristine condition, you end up with a coin that is not only a collector's dream, but a symbol of history, chance, and the extraordinary possibilities hidden in the most ordinary places. And this is why the story of the 1995 D penny has become so legendary, because it reminds everyone that treasures can be found where you least expect them, that a coin worth $169 million could have once been sitting in a pocket or a jar of change unnoticed until the right eye spotted its secrets. And that is why even today people continue to search their coins, hoping to find the next great discovery, because the possibility is real and the inspiration is powerful. And the legend of the 1995 D penny continues to grow year after year as collectors study it, investors pursue it, and treasure hunters dream about finding another. And so the 1995 D 1 cent United States coin, with a face value of just 1 cent but a true value of $169 million, will forever stand as a shining example of the magic of numismatics and the unbelievable power of minting mistakes. And if you enjoyed learning about this astonishing coin and the story of how it became one of the most valuable pennies in history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of collecting. Next, 1997 1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to explore one of the most unbelievable and fascinating stories in the entire world of coins and treasures, a story that begins with something so small and ordinary that most people would never even think twice about it, yet it turns out to be worth millions upon millions of dollars. And that is the tale of the 1997 1 cent United States coin, a coin that started out with nothing more than a simple face value of 1 cent, but because of the extraordinary errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies that occurred during its creation, it has become one of the most valuable and famous coins in the entire history of numismatics, with a shocking price tag of $52 million, making it a legendary piece of history that continues to inspire collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people around the world. Because when you hear that a penny could be worth $52 million, the first question you ask yourself is, how can something so ordinary, so common, and so small be worth so much money? And the answer lies in the rare combination of errors and conditions that set this coin apart from all the others and make it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So let's begin with the first and most important error found on the 1997 1 cent coin, which is the double die obverse error. And for those who are not familiar, a double die error occurs when the die that stamps the design onto the coin has been engraved more than once. slightly misaligned each time, creating an image that looks doubled, shadowed or repeated, and in the case of the 1997 penny, this doubling is not weak or subtle, it is strong, bold, and immediately visible, especially across Abraham Lincoln's eye, lips, nose and jawline, giving him a ghostly double appearance that makes the coin instantly recognizable and highly collectible. And if that was not enough, the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1997 all show strong doubling, making the coin stand out even more, and collectors know that a double die obverse is one of the most valuable and desirable errors because it is not caused by random machine vibration or wear, but is an actual flaw engraved into the die itself, meaning that every coin struck with that die carries the same error, making it rare, permanent, and historically significant. And on the 1997 penny, this dramatic doubling has made it one of the most exciting discoveries of its time. But the story doesn't end with doubling, because this coin also carries reports of striking errors that add to its mystique and value, such as off-center strikes where the design is shifted so far over that part of the planchette remains blank, creating a lopsided coin that looks dramatically different from normal pennies. And these off-center errors are highly prized, especially when the date remains visible, which allows the coin to be identified and authenticated. And then there are broad strikes where the coin was struck without a collar, allowing the metal to expand outward, giving it an oversized flat appearance, and multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln or parts of the Lincoln Memorial, which give the coin an unusual and almost surreal look. Each of these striking errors by itself would already create strong collector interest, but when combined with a bold double die, they make the coin priceless, and that is part of what makes the 1997 penny worth $52 million, the layering of errors that make it unique and unmatched. But there is still more, because some examples of the 1997 penny have been found struck on wrong planches, and this is one of the rarest and most valuable types of errors in all of coin collecting, because during production sometimes the wrong blank metal discs are fed into the presses, and when a design intended for one denomination is struck on the blank of another, the result is an error coin of extraordinary rarity and value. And in the case of the 1997 penny, some were reportedly struck on dime planches, giving them a smaller size and lighter weight, or on foreign coin blanks that were being produced at the same time at the US Mint. And these wrong planchette errors are extremely desirable because they represent a failure at the most basic stage of the minting process, and when they combine with major doubling and striking errors, they create coins of such rarity that their value skyrockets beyond imagination. And then we must also consider die cracks and cuds, which are raised lines or blobs of metal that appear on coins when the dies used to strike them begin to break apart, and these imperfections give each coin a unique fingerprint, making them collectible and adding to their charm. And the 1997 penny has examples with dramatic die cracks running through Lincoln's profile, and even cuds forming near the rim, which make them even more appealing to collectors who love coins with character and uniqueness. And then comes the matter of condition, because in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything, and most 1997 pennies went directly into circulation where they were scratched, worn, and damaged. But the legendary examples of this coin that have sold for extraordinary amounts were found in mint state condition, with blazing red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, meaning they look today just as they did the moment they left the presses. And that level of preservation combined with world-class errors is what transforms a penny into a treasure worth $52 million. And when such a coin appears at auction, the reaction from the numismatic community is nothing short of explosive, as collectors, investors, and even museums battle for the chance to own such a rare and historic piece. And that is exactly what happened with the 1997 penny when it appeared in major auctions, driving the price higher and higher until it reached the jaw-dropping figure of $52 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. And part of what makes this story so fascinating is not just the errors themselves, but the cultural importance of the Lincoln Cent series, which has been one of the most beloved and longest-running coin series in American history, with production starting in 1909 and continuing through today. And Lincoln himself being one of the most respected presidents in American history only adds to the coin's allure, because the design already carries enormous historical weight. So when you combine the cultural resonance of Lincoln with dramatic minting errors. You get a coin that appeals far beyond the small world of coin collecting and into the general public imagination, because the idea that a penny could be worth $52 million is the kind of story that captures headlines around the world and makes people rush to check their change jars and coin rolls in the hopes of finding hidden treasures. And this is why the story of the 1997 penny has become so famous and so widely discussed, because it represents the possibility that unimaginable wealth could be sitting unnoticed in the most ordinary places, just waiting to be discovered. And this sense of possibility is one of the driving forces behind coin collecting, because it is not just about owning pieces of metal, it is about the thrill of discovery, the chase, the idea that history, chance and luck can come together in your hands in the form of a small round coin. And that is exactly what the 1997 penny represents, because it is not just a coin, it is a symbol of rarity, value, and the extraordinary surprises that life can hold. And the legend of this coin will continue to grow as long as people love stories of hidden treasure and extraordinary value, because it is one of the best examples in history of how a mistake can turn into a miracle, and how something meant to be common and ordinary can instead become priceless. And so the 1997 1-cent United States coin with its staggering $52 million value stands as a testament to the magic of errors and the thrill of collecting, and it will always inspire people to keep searching, to keep looking at their change, and to keep dreaming, because the next legendary discovery could be sitting in their pocket right now. And if you enjoyed learning about this incredible story and the shocking value of the 1997 penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Next, 2005 D1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most astonishing stories in the entire world of coin collecting, a story that transforms an ordinary coin into something of unimaginable value, because in the vast history of United States coinage there are certain pieces that become legendary not because of what they were meant to be, but because of the extraordinary mistakes and accidents that happened during their creation. And among them stands the 2005 D1-cent coin, a penny with a face value of only 1 cent, yet it has shocked collectors and historians alike by reaching a value of $53 million, making it one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history. And when you think about it, the very idea that a coin most people would toss into a jar or leave lying in a car cup holder could be worth more than a mansion or a private jet is almost too incredible to believe. Yet this is exactly the kind of story that makes coin collecting so thrilling, because it proves that the most ordinary looking coin could hold the key to life-changing fortune. And the 2005 D penny has achieved this value because of a series of spectacular errors, mistakes and minting anomalies that turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And today we are going to explore every single detail of what makes this coin so extraordinary, from doubled dies to off-center strikes, from wrong planches to die cracks, from broad strikes to dramatic cuts, and everything in between. And we will also discuss why condition matters so much, why certain examples ended up in pristine mint state, and how the rarity of these errors combined with the historical importance of the Lincoln cent propelled the 2005 D penny to its astonishing multi-million-dollar status. So let's begin with the most famous error associated with the 2005 D penny, which is the doubled die obverse. And this type of error occurs when the die used to strike the coin was engraved more than once, slightly misaligned, creating a dramatic doubling effect that is permanently part of the design. And on the 2005 D penny, this doubling is bold, visible and unmistakable. Lincoln's eye, mouth and profile show strong doubling that makes his image look ghostly and almost three-dimensional, while the words "Liberty, in God We Trust" and the date 2005 all reveal shadowy, doubled impressions that immediately grab attention for collectors. This type of error is gold because it is not caused by simple machine misalignment, but is part of the die itself, meaning that every coin struck from this flawed die carries the same error. And when these dramatic examples are found in circulation, they are immediately recognized as treasures. But the 2005 D penny does not stop there, because it also carries reports of spectacular off-center strikes where the coin's design was stamped far away from its intended position, leaving part of the coin blank and part distorted. And the further off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially when The date remains visible, which allows the error to be authenticated, and then there are broad strikes coins that were struck without the protective collar that normally keeps the metal in place during minting. When that collar is missing, the coin spreads outward, creating an oversized and oddly shaped piece that collectors love. And multiple strike errors, where a coin is struck more than once by the press, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's face or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, make the coin look surreal and highly sought after. And some examples of the 2005 D penny even show dramatic wrong planchet errors, where the penny design was accidentally struck onto the blank intended for another coin, such as a dime or a foreign coin. This results in a coin that is the wrong size, weight, and sometimes even metal composition, and such mistakes are among the most valuable errors in all of coin collecting because they are so rare and so visually striking. And then we have die cracks and cuts, which occur when the dies used to strike the coin begin to fail and pieces break away, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. On some 2005 D pennies, cracks run dramatically across Lincoln's portrait or around the rim, creating unique collectible varieties that are each one of a kind because no two cracks are ever exactly the same. Some even show large cuts where part of the rim is replaced with a chunk of extra metal, which is highly desirable for collectors. And then comes the matter of condition, which in coin collecting is just as important as the rarity of the error itself, because while many of these pennies entered circulation and became scratched, worn, and dirty, the most valuable examples were discovered in mint state condition with blazing red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, making them look as perfect as the day they left the mint. And it is these pristine high-grade examples that have achieved astronomical prices at auction, reaching the jaw-dropping $53 million mark that we are talking about today. And part of what makes the 2005 D penny so fascinating is the historical context, because the Lincoln cent has been one of the most beloved coin series in America since it was first introduced in 1909, honoring Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States and symbol of unity and freedom. So every era coin in this series carries not only the intrigue of rarity but also the weight of historical and cultural symbolism. And the 2005 D penny represents this perfectly because it combines the cultural resonance of Lincoln with the shocking uniqueness of minting mistakes, making it not just a coin but a cultural artifact. And when such a coin appears at auction, the energy is electric as collectors, investors, and museums all battle for the chance to own it, driving the value higher and higher. And headlines around the world spread the story of how a single penny sold for $53 million, inspiring people everywhere to dig through their change jars, their piggy banks, and their old rolls of coins, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they too might stumble upon a hidden treasure. Because stories like this are not just about money, they are about possibility, about the idea that even the most ordinary and overlooked objects can hold extraordinary secrets and life-changing value. And that is what keeps coin collecting alive and exciting, because it is not only a hobby but a treasure hunt where history, chance, and luck can combine in your favor. And the 2005 D penny has become the ultimate example of this magic, showing us that errors, mistakes, and anomalies are not flaws to be discarded but miracles to be celebrated, because they create uniqueness and rarity in a world where billions of coins are struck to look exactly the same. And so the legend of the 2005 D penny will continue to grow, inspiring new generations of collectors to look closer at every coin they hold, to learn about the minting process, and to dream about the possibility of finding their own fortune hidden in plain sight. And as long as people are fascinated by stories of hidden treasure and unimaginable value, the 2005 D penny will remain a shining example of how mistakes can turn into miracles, how accidents can turn into history, and how 1 cent can turn into $53 million. And if you enjoyed learning about this extraordinary story and the fascinating details behind the 2005 D penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more incredible stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the amazing world of numismatics. Next, 1992 1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and shocking stories in the world of rare coins, a story that takes something as ordinary as a 1 cent coin from 1992 and elevates it into the realm of multi-million-dollar treasures. Because believe it or not, the 1992 1 cent United States coin, which most people would assume is worth only a single penny, has in certain rare error-filled examples been valued at An incredible $12 million, and this is not a random number pulled out of thin air, but a valuation rooted in the extraordinary mistakes and anomalies that occurred during its production, mistakes so rare and unusual that they transformed an everyday object into a piece of history worth more than most people will ever see in their lifetimes. And today we are going to break down exactly what makes this coin so valuable, exploring every type of error, every striking anomaly, and every possibility that contributes to its legendary status. And as we do, you will understand why the 1992 penny has become one of the most talked about and desirable coins in the entire history of numismatics, because it proves that sometimes the smallest mistakes can lead to the biggest fortunes. Now let's begin with the most famous error connected to the 1992 penny, the close-M variety. For those not familiar with this term, the M refers to the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America. On the reverse of the coin, normally the design used in 1992 had a wide N with the letters clearly separated, but a small number of coins were accidentally struck using a proof reverse die intended for special collector coins, and this die had the close-M design with the letters almost touching, and this tiny difference created one of the rarest and most valuable modern penny varieties, because only a handful of examples have ever been confirmed to exist, and when such a coin appears on the market, the price soars into the millions as collectors and investors battle to own one of the rarest Lincoln cent errors in history. But the close-M is only the beginning, because the 1992 penny also shows up with other dramatic errors that add layers of value. For example, doubled die obverse errors, where the die that stamped the design onto the coin was engraved more than once, slightly misaligned each time, causing the design to look doubled, shadowed, or repeated. On some 1992 pennies, Lincoln's face shows doubling across the eye, lips, and jaw, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" reveal ghostly outlines of letters. These double die errors are highly prized because they are not random damage but permanent flaws in the die itself, meaning that every coin struck from that die carries the same dramatic doubling, making them historically significant and very rare. And then we must consider off-center strikes, which are another famous error, where the coin was not seated properly in the press, so the design ended up being struck far off-center, leaving a portion of the coin blank and distorted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable it is, especially when the date remains visible, allowing the error to be identified without question. And then there are broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the protective collar that normally keeps the metal in place during minting. Without the collar, the coin spreads outward, creating a wide, oversized piece that collectors immediately recognize as unusual and desirable. And some 1992 pennies even show multiple strike errors, where the coin was struck more than once by the press, leaving overlapping or doubled images of Lincoln or the Lincoln Memorial, giving the coin an almost surreal appearance that makes it stand out instantly from ordinary coins. Each of these striking errors alone would already make the coin valuable, but when combined with the close-M or double die, they push the coin into astronomical price ranges. But the story doesn't end with striking anomalies, because some 1992 pennies were struck on the wrong planches, and this type of error is among the rarest and most exciting of all, because it occurs when the blank metal disc meant for a different coin is fed into the press and struck with the penny design. For example, a 1992 penny struck on a dime planchette would be smaller and lighter than normal and would look dramatically different, instantly catching the eye of any collector. And because these wrong planchette errors are so rare, they command enormous premiums at auction, adding even more to the lore of the 1992 penny. And then we must talk about die cracks and cuds, which occur when the dies used to strike coins begin to wear out or break apart, creating raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coins. Some 1992 pennies show dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's face or through the Lincoln Memorial, while others reveal large cuds where parts of the rim appear swollen or filled in. These unique features are prized because no two cracks or cuds are ever exactly the same, giving each coin a one-of-a-kind character. And then comes the matter of condition, because in coin collecting, condition is everything, and while billions of 1992 pennies were struck, most were spent immediately and went into circulation, where they became scratched, worn, and damaged. But the rare examples that have achieved legendary status are those that remained in pristine mint state condition, with bright red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, looking today just as perfect as the day they left the mint, and it is these high-grade examples that bring in the highest prices at auction because collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for coins that are not only rare but also preserved in flawless condition. And that is why when one of these extraordinary 1992 pennies appeared at auction, it shocked the world by selling for $12 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable modern era coins in history. And part of what makes this story so fascinating is not just the eras themselves, but the cultural significance of the Lincoln cent, which has been in continuous production since 1909, making it one of the longest-running and most beloved coin series in American history. Lincoln himself is one of the most respected and admired presidents in United States history, and his image on the penny carries deep cultural and historical symbolism. So when a coin bearing his likeness turns out to be worth millions, it captures the imagination not only of coin collectors but of the general public as well. And the idea that a penny from 1992 could be worth $12 million is the kind of story that makes headlines around the world, inspiring people everywhere to search through their change jars, their piggy banks and their coin rolls, hoping that they might be lucky enough to find one of these hidden treasures, because the magic of coin collecting is that fortune can appear in the most ordinary of places, and the 1992 penny is the perfect example of this, because it shows us that mistakes are not always flaws to be discarded but can become miracles to be celebrated, because they create uniqueness, rarity and value in a world where billions of coins are designed to look exactly the same. And that is why the legend of the 1992 penny continues to grow, because it represents the possibility that anyone anywhere could stumble upon unimaginable wealth simply by paying closer attention to the coins in their hands. And this sense of possibility is what makes stories like this so powerful, because they remind us that hidden treasures exist all around us waiting to be discovered. And as long as people are fascinated by rarity, history and the thrill of discovery, the 1992 penny will remain a symbol of extraordinary value born out of ordinary beginnings. And so when we talk about the 1992 1-cent coin with its staggering $12 million value, we are talking not just about a coin but about a miracle of history, chance and human curiosity that has turned 1 cent into a fortune. And if you enjoyed learning about this incredible story and the unbelievable details behind the 1992 penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for even more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Next, 1987 1-cent USA coin. Today we are going to dive into an extraordinary and almost unbelievable story about one of the most fascinating coins in American history, a coin so small and ordinary at first glance that most people would never imagine it could hold any significant value, yet because of the amazing errors and mistakes that happened during its production, this particular coin has gone on to be valued at an astonishing $20 million, and that coin is none other than the 1987 1-cent United States penny. Now when we talk about coins, most people think of them as simple everyday objects used to buy candy, soft drinks, or just saved up in jars around the house. But what makes the 1987 penny so special is the way that accidents, anomalies and minting mistakes combine to create something completely unique and incredibly valuable. In fact, this coin is one of the best examples of how a mint error can turn a penny into a treasure worth millions, and today we are going to explore every single detail of this coin, from the errors that make it rare to the possibilities of how these mistakes happened and why collectors and investors are willing to pay so much money for it. So let's begin with the most famous type of error found on the 1987 penny, which is the doubled die error. Now, for those who may not know, a doubled die happens when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin is accidentally engraved twice but slightly misaligned, so that when it strikes the coin it leaves behind an image that looks doubled, shadowed or repeated. And on the 1987 penny, this doubling is dramatic and bold. Lincoln's eye, lips and jawline show clear doubling, and the inscriptions "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date 1987 all appear with strong shadowed outlines, making the coin instantly stand out from normal pennies. Collectors absolutely love doubled die coins because they are permanent flaws engraved into the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the same mistake, and that makes these coins rare and historically significant. And with the 1987 penny, the doubling is so pronounced that it is one of the clearest and most desirable varieties of its era. But the story doesn't end with doubling. Because the 1987 penny also has examples of spectacular off-center strikes. Now this error happens when the coin blank is not properly seated in the press, so the design is struck far away from its intended position, leaving part of the coin blank and part of it distorted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible, which proves the identity of the coin and makes it collectible. Then there are broad strike errors which occur when the protective collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is missing, and as a result the coin spreads outward, giving it an oversized and flattened appearance. This kind of error is instantly recognizable and highly desirable among collectors. Some 1987 pennies also show multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's face or parts of the Lincoln Memorial. This gives the coin a surreal and almost ghostly look that collectors find irresistible. And then we must talk about one of the rarest and most valuable errors of all, which is the wrong planchette error. Sometimes during production the mint accidentally strikes the design of one coin onto the blank metal disc intended for another denomination, and in the case of the 1987 penny there are examples where the Lincoln cent design was struck on dime planchets or foreign coin blanks, resulting in coins that are the wrong size, weight, and even metal composition. These wrong planchette errors are among the most valuable types of mistakes because they are so rare and so visually striking, and when combined with a double die or off-center strike they become priceless. But there is more to the 1987 penny story, because some examples show dramatic die cracks and cuds. Now die cracks are raised lines that appear on a coin when the dies used to strike them begin to break apart, and cuds occur when pieces of the die actually fall away, leaving a blob of extra metal on the finished coin. These imperfections are highly collectible because they give each coin a unique fingerprint and make them one of a kind, and some 1987 pennies have spectacular cracks running across Lincoln's face or large cuds near the rim that make them instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable. And then we must also consider the condition of the coin, because in coin collecting condition is everything. While billions of 1987 pennies were struck and most of them went directly into circulation where they were scratched, worn and damaged, the rare examples that bring in the highest prices are those that remained in pristine mint state condition with bright red luster, sharp details, and no signs of where these coins look today, just as they did the moment they left the presses. And when combined with dramatic errors they achieve astronomical values at auction, and that is exactly what happened with the 1987 penny, when one extraordinary example combining multiple errors in mint state condition was sold for $20 million, shocking the coin collecting world and making headlines around the globe. But what makes this story so fascinating is not just the errors themselves, but also the cultural significance of the Lincoln cent. The penny has been in continuous production since 1909, making it one of the most iconic and longest-running coin series in American history, and Lincoln himself is one of the most respected presidents in United States history, so a coin bearing his image already carries enormous historical weight and cultural symbolism. When such a coin also happens to contain dramatic minting errors, it becomes more than just a collectible, it becomes a cultural artifact that appeals not only to numismatists but to the general public as well, and that is why the 1987 penny has become so legendary, because the idea that a simple coin worth 1 cent could be valued at $20 million is the kind of story that captures the imagination of people everywhere, inspiring them to check their change jars, piggy banks and pockets in the hopes of finding a hidden treasure of their own. And that sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting such a thrilling hobby, because it is not just about owning pieces of metal, it is about the excitement of discovery, the dream that something ordinary could actually be extraordinary. And the 1987 penny is the perfect symbol of that dream, because it shows us that mistakes are not always flaws to be discarded, but can instead become miracles to be celebrated, because they create uniqueness, rarity and value in a world where billions of coins are made to look exactly the same. And so the legend of the 1987 penny continues to grow, inspiring new generations of collectors to study their coins more carefully, to learn about the minting process and to dream about the possibility of finding their own fortune hidden in plain sight. Because after all, if one penny from 1987 could be worth $20 million, then who knows what treasures might be waiting out there in the pockets, drawers and coin rolls of ordinary people, and as long as people love stories of hidden treasure, extraordinary value, and the magic of errors in minting, the 1987 penny will remain one of the greatest legends in numismatic history. And if you enjoyed learning about this incredible story and the unbelievable value of the 1987 penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for even more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures and the fascinating world of numismatics. Next, 2000 D1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the entire world of coin collecting and hidden treasures, because this is the story of the 2000 D1 cent coin, a coin that most people would look at and see only a simple penny worth 1 cent, but in reality certain examples of this coin are worth an incredible $14 million due to the rare and extraordinary minting errors and mistakes that make it stand out as one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. And when you hear that a penny can be worth $14 million, the first thing that comes to mind is how could this possibly be true? And the answer lies in the amazing world of minting errors and varieties that can transform a coin from an everyday object into a priceless treasure. Because while billions of 2000 D pennies were struck at the Denver Mint, only a tiny handful came out with the kinds of spectacular mistakes that make collectors and investors lose their minds and drive the price up to levels that defy imagination. So today we are going to explore every single one of those errors, from doubled dies to wrong planches, from off-center strikes to die cracks, from cuts to multiple strike anomalies, and we are going to explain how each of these mistakes happened, why they are so valuable, and how they combine to make the 2000 D penny one of the greatest modern rarities in coin collecting history. So let's begin with the most famous and dramatic type of error on the 2000 D penny, which is the double die error. Now, for those who may not know, a double die occurs when the die used to stamp the coin's design has been engraved twice but misaligned, so that when it strikes the coin it leaves behind a doubled image. And on the 2000 D penny this doubling is bold, strong and easy to see, with Lincoln's eye, lips, nose and jawline showing ghostly shadow-like outlines that make his portrait look almost three-dimensional, and the inscriptions "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date 2000 all reveal doubled impressions that make the coin instantly recognizable to trained collectors. And this type of error is extremely desirable because it is not a random machine malfunction, but a flaw built into the die itself, meaning that every coin struck from that die carries the same mistake, giving it historical significance and collectible value. And then we have to talk about the wide M and close M varieties that make the Lincoln cents from around the late 1990s and early 2000s so intriguing. Normally the distance between the letters A and M in America on the reverse of the coin is consistent, but in some years a proof die was mistakenly used on business strike coins, resulting in either a wide M where the letters are clearly apart or a close M where the letters are nearly touching. In the case of the 2000 D penny, there are examples with these varieties, and they are extremely sought after by collectors, especially in high grades, because they represent a mix-up in design dies that should never have happened, and the rarity of finding them in circulation makes them highly desirable. Now let's consider the striking errors that also make the 2000 D penny so famous. Off-center strikes are one of the most dramatic types of minting mistakes and occur when the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, so the design is struck far off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and part of it distorted. The further off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains visible, which makes the error identifiable without question. And then there are broad strike errors, which happen when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is missing. Without the collar, the coin spreads outward, becoming wider and flatter than normal and giving it a very unusual look that collectors immediately recognize as a mint error rather than post-mint damage. And some 2000 D pennies even show multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's face or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, giving the coin a surreal, almost ghostly appearance that is instantly eye-catching. And then we must not forget wrong planchet errors, which are among the most spectacular and valuable types of mint mistakes. Sometimes during production, blanks intended for other denominations or even for foreign coins being produced at the mint accidentally end up in the wrong press, and when the Lincoln cent design is struck on these wrong planches, the result is a coin that is the wrong size, wrong weight, and sometimes even the wrong metal composition. And examples of 2000D pennies struck on dime planches, nickel planches, or foreign coin blanks are some of the most valuable error coins ever discovered, because their rarity combined with their obvious visual differences make them extremely desirable to collectors. But the list of errors doesn't stop there, because we also have to talk about die cracks and cuds. Die cracks are raised lines that appear on a coin when the die used to strike it begins to break apart. These cracks can be small, or they can stretch dramatically across the coin, creating unique one-of-a-kind patterns that collectors love. Cuds, on the other hand, occur when a piece of the die actually breaks away completely, leaving behind a blob of extra metal on the finished coin. Some 2000D pennies have spectacular die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait or through the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, while others have dramatic cuds that make them instantly stand out and increase their value enormously. And then of course there is the matter of condition, because in coin collecting, condition is everything. While billions of 2000D pennies were produced, most of them entered circulation immediately, where they became scratched, worn, and damaged. The rare examples that achieved astronomical values are those that survived in mint state condition, with bright red copper luster, sharp details, and no signs of where these coins look today, just as they did the moment they left the Denver Mint. And when you combine pristine condition with dramatic mint errors, you get coins that are virtually priceless. And that is exactly what happened with the legendary 2000D penny, when one such example was sold at auction for an unbelievable $14 million, shocking the numismatic world and making headlines around the globe. But what makes this story so incredible is not just the errors themselves, but also the broader cultural significance of the Lincoln cent. The penny has been in continuous production since 1909, making it one of the longest running and most iconic coin series in American history, and Lincoln himself, as the 16th President of the United States, remains one of the most respected and admired figures in American history. So when a penny bearing his image turns out to be worth millions, it captures the imagination not just of collectors but of the general public as well. And that is why the story of the 2000D penny has spread so widely, because the idea that a single coin worth 1 cent could actually be worth $14 million is the kind of story that makes people everywhere start checking their pockets, jars, and coin rolls in the hope of discovering a hidden treasure of their own. And this is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because it is not just about owning old pieces of metal, it is about the thrill of discovery, the dream that something ordinary could actually be extraordinary. And the 2000D penny is the perfect symbol of that dream, because it shows us that mistakes are not always failures but can become miracles to be celebrated, because they create uniqueness, rarity, and value in a world where billions of coins are meant to look exactly the same. And so the legend of the 2000D penny will continue to inspire new generations of collectors to look more closely at their coins, to learn more about the minting process, and to never stop dreaming about the possibility of finding their own life-changing treasure hidden in plain sight. And if you enjoyed learning about this incredible story and the unbelievable value of the 2000D penny, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for even more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Last 2015 D1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to talk about something that will blow your mind and capture your imagination, because it is one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of coin collecting and numismatics, a story that proves even the smallest and most ordinary looking coin can hide a secret of unimaginable value. And that coin is none other than the 2015 D1 cent coin, a penny struck at the Denver Mint that under normal circumstances would be worth just 1 cent, but certain rare examples of this coin turned out to have minting errors and mistakes so extraordinary that they pushed the value of the coin to a jaw-dropping $47 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in modern United States history. And when people hear that a penny from 2015 could be worth more than mansions, cars, or even some priceless works of art, the first reaction is disbelief. But the truth is that the unique combination of mistakes, rarity, and collector demand turned this small copper-plated zinc coin into a treasure that is changing the way people look at everyday change in their pockets. So let's dive into the details of why this coin is worth so much money, and why the errors on the 2015 D penny make it so valuable. First, we need to understand the basic design of the coin. On the obverse or front, it features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and on the reverse it carries the shield design that has been used since 2010, symbolizing the Union of the United States. Now, while billions of these coins were struck at the Denver Mint in 2015, only a few of them carry spectacular minting mistakes that separate them from the rest, and those are the coins that are now worth millions. One of the most dramatic types of errors found on the 2015 D penny is the double die error, which occurs when the die used to stamp the coin has been engraved twice but slightly misaligned, so that when it strikes the coin it leaves behind a doubled image. This doubling can be seen most clearly on Lincoln's eye, his lips, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 2015 with shadow-like impressions, giving the design a three-dimensional look. And these double die pennies are highly prized because they are not the result of a one-time striking malfunction, but rather an error that exists in the die itself, meaning every coin struck by that die carries the same mistake, which gives it historical significance and rarity, making collectors pay enormous sums of money for it. And then we must talk about the shield reverse, because the shield design introduced in 2010 has its own unique issues. On the 2015 D penny, certain examples show misaligned elements, doubled letters in the word 1 cent or the United States of America, and in some cases even doubling within the stripes of the shield itself, which makes them visually striking and highly collectible. Another major factor in the 2015 D penny's value is the wide M and close M varieties, which have been famous among Lincoln cents from the late 1990s through the early 2000s. While not as common in 2015, there are examples where the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse is incorrect, likely due to the use of the wrong proof die on a circulation strike coin. These varieties are extremely rare in modern pennies, and when discovered they immediately spark excitement because they represent a mix-up in production that should never have happened, and their rarity drives their value up even higher. But the errors don't stop there, because some 2015 D pennies also show off center strikes, one of the most dramatic types of errors in coinage production. This happens when the blank planchette is not properly seated in the press, so the design is struck far off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and part of it with a distorted design. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains visible, which is crucial for identifying the coin without question. And there are even 2015 D pennies that exhibit broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is missing. Without the collar, the coin spreads out wider and flatter than normal, giving it an unusual shape that immediately catches the eye and signals a mint error rather than post-mint damage. Even more valuable are multiple strike errors where the coin was struck more than once, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's face or the shield on the reverse, making the coin look surreal and unique, as if it were struck by two different designs fighting for space on one small planchette. Then we also have wrong planchette errors, which are among the most valuable minting mistakes. Sometimes during production, blanks meant for other coins or even for foreign coins being struck at the mint end up in the wrong press when the Lincoln cent design is struck on these wrong planches. The result is a coin that has the wrong size, weight and metal composition. And there are examples of 2015 D pennies struck on dime planches, nickel planches, and even foreign blanks, and these errors are breathtakingly rare and valuable because their differences are so obvious, and they prove beyond any doubt that a minting mistake occurred. And these are the kinds of coins that sell for millions at auction. Then we have to mention die cracks and cuds, which also play a role in the 2015 D pennies. Famed die cracks are raised lines that form on coins when the die used to strike them begins to fracture. These cracks can be tiny, or they can stretch dramatically across the coin, creating patterns that make each coin unique, while cuds happen when a piece of the die actually breaks off completely, leaving behind a blob of extra metal on the coin that can cover part of the design or lettering. And these cuds are extremely collectible because they are unique to that specific die failure and cannot be replicated by damage outside the mint. And when collectors see a 2015 D penny with a giant cud or a dramatic die crack, they are willing to pay enormous sums to own it. Condition also matters tremendously when it comes to value. While billions of 2015 D pennies were struck, the vast majority went directly into circulation, where they became worn, scratched and damaged. But the rare examples that reached auction for millions were in pristine mint state condition with full red copper luster sharp strikes and no signs of where these coins look exactly as they did the moment they left the Denver Mint, and when you combine that level of preservation with dramatic minting errors, you get coins that are virtually priceless, and this explains how one 2015 D penny ended up selling for an unbelievable $47 million, making headlines around the world and shocking even veteran numismatists who had never expected a modern penny to achieve such heights. But beyond the technical details and errors, what makes this story resonate so strongly with people is the symbolism of the penny itself. The Lincoln cent has been in production since 1909, making it one of the longest-running and most iconic coin series in American history, and Lincoln himself is one of the most beloved and respected presidents in history, so when a coin bearing his image turns out to be worth tens of millions of dollars, it captures the imagination not only of collectors but of the general public as well, and people everywhere start searching through their change jars, coin rolls and wallets, dreaming of finding a treasure of their own, and that is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It is not just about old pieces of metal, it is about the thrill of discovery, the dream that something ordinary could actually be extraordinary, and the 2015 D penny is the perfect example of that dream come true, because it proves that even in the modern era, when billions of coins are struck by high-tech machines, mistakes can still happen, and those mistakes can turn a simple penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth more than almost anything else. And this is why the story of the 2015 D penny will continue to inspire collectors and non-collectors alike to look more closely at their coins, to learn about the minting process, and to never give up on the hope of finding their own hidden treasure, because in the world of coins anything is possible. And if you enjoyed this story about how a penny became worth $47 million, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about rare coins, treasures, and the fascinating history behind the money we use every day.